Alright, so I've been in online business for well over 2 years now, and I, as such, have spent lots and lots of money on online courses, more than I probably want to admit. But from those online courses, I've spent money and wasted it, but I've also spent money and learned some really valuable lessons. So these are the most valuable lessons I've learned with online. Now, the first thing that I've learned from online courses is that rare information, truly valuable information that, for instance, could make you a lot of money in business, generally speaking, is expensive and locked behind a paywall. Now, what do I mean by that exactly? Well, essentially, from my experience, cheap 997, 1997 courses, they generally speaking, because they're at a lowish price point compared to some other courses, not saying that's a small amount of money, simply put, it's not a $10,000 course because it's at that lower price point. Lots of people can essentially buy into that course and as such have access to that information. Essentially what that means is when you do go and buy a cheap course, you're generally speaking getting mediocre strategies because they're strategies that, simply put, all of your competition have and as such are either using, or they're strategies that are either outdated essentially and your competition have probably already learned from the lessons that those strategies can teach. The second thing that I learned is it's far more better to actually teach the strategy involved rather than just giving someone a blanket script and say, hey, go and sign these clients, make that money. Now, why is that exactly? Well, first of all, as we've just discussed, nothing lasts forever. Every good strategy eventually becomes outdated and saturated. And on top of that, when you actually understand the fundamentals of a subject, for instance, when it comes to booking appointments for an online agency, when you actually understand the fundamentals of that subject and you understand why anyone would book an appointment with you, then it doesn't matter if the particular strategies that are really working at the moment change and shift, because you can adapt with those strategies. Whereas, for instance, if I was just to give you my cold email script right now, sure, you'd use it and sure, it would work, but eventually the market would change and such the needs of said market would change and the script just wouldn't work anymore. In order to be successful in online business, the most important thing is innovation. You need to constantly be changing new things and trying new things and seeing what works and what your market responds to essentially. The third thing that I learned from online courses is that mindset is basically 90% of any form of success, especially in online business. The other 10% is simply the tactics and the scripts that you use to achieve such success. Now, what do I mean by that? How does that make any sense? Essentially, I could, for instance, give you my cold call script right now, and you could have it and it would work if you'd use it. But chances are, if I was to give you this script right now, would you click away from this video and go and make 2, 3, 400 cold calls right now? Probably not, no. And that's what I mean when I say mindset is the most important thing, because it's all well and good to have the strategies, but if you don't have the discipline, if you don't have the tenacity, if you don't have the willpower to actually not just apply those strategies, but to apply it and not get emotional, to apply it and keep on innovating and make those strategies better, you're not going to be successful. Now, what does that actually mean when it comes to improving your mindset and focusing on that 90%? It sounds sort of counterintuitive. Why don't I put 90% of my effort into actually growing my business? That's not actually what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the success can be attributed most to mindset. And if you want me to elaborate further on that, I can do another video, just comment below. But that's by far one of the most important lessons I've learned from is particularly expensive online courses. The way that they teach mindset and the way that they get you to approach and perceive work makes a massive difference when it actually comes to the success that you can achieve. And the final thing is that in order to be successful, not just in SMMA or digital entrepreneurship, but in anything in life, you need three things. Number one, you need to be hardworking. Fairly self-explanatory. I think everyone can understand why that's essential. Number two is talent. If you run a service-based business, whether it be digital or otherwise, you need to have some sort of talent that you can provide for someone else in exchange for money. Could be running Facebook ads, that could be your talent. Could be web design, the list is endless essentially, but you need to have some sort of talent that you can, one, is actually worth something, but two, you can actually monetize and as such sell to someone. But the third thing, the thing that I see by far people have the least of, and we've already talked about it a bit in this video, it's innovation. Now, being innovative is so important because, as we've already discussed, if you're not constantly adapting your process, if you're not tweaking things, if you're not basically trying to do better than you're already doing, sooner or later you're going to fall behind if you ever get ahead in the first place. Now, innovation is by far the hardest skill to teach someone. In many respects, you can't actually teach someone to be innovative. It's kind of like teaching someone to be creative in a sense. But from what I've seen, both within myself but also many other digital entrepreneurs, they're all innovative, at least the successful ones. They're all people that are constantly trying to do better than they're already doing by essentially tweaking, by taking risks, by trying new things. 90% of the time, it's not going to work, it's going to fail. But that 10% of the time where you do innovate, that is essentially where you're going to see the most growth in your business and the most money that you've actually made. So if you want my help growing your own online business, check out the video, first link in the description. Watch the whole thing. I'd highly recommend it. But other than that, if you've enjoyed this video and found it of value, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.